Okay, I am going to call this special meeting of the Madison Board of Education to order, and let's start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have the roll call?
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
Here.
Mr. Mosier.
Here.
Mrs. McGinney.
Here.
Ms. Amy Walker.
Here.
And Mr. Wigton.
Here. At this time, we need to adopt the agenda. Can I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinney.
4.
Ms. Amy Walker.
4.
Mr. Mosier.
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4. Item D are matters related to personnel. We have several items there. And also that's different. Yes, there's addendum as well. And we have a motion for item D.
So moved.
Second?
A second.
Discussion?
Real quick, under D, on the back, small case B, has he had his BCI and FBI checks? Or is this just a recommendation?
Which one?
Bruce Gibson, assistant 7th grade football coach. Has all of his background checks and everything? Has that came back yet, or it's been done yet?
You're asking a question that I don't have an answer for, but he won't
I
start
asked
until
to
we have
remove
that.
that one till we find out.
Yeah, if we put this on here and that stuff hasn't come yet, they don't start till we get the background check.
Was he the only applicant, or is there others?
I don't know the answer to that either.
Mr. Mosier says pending BCI, FBI checks. Are you okay with this staying on here as long as the BCI, FBI checks are okay?
I'd like to know if he was the only applicant or not, if there's other applicants.
You know that? I don't know. Neither of us know the answer to that.
End of discussion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
4.
Ms. Amy Walker.
4.
Mr. Mosier.
Against.
Mrs. McGinney.
4.
And Mr. Wigton.
4. Okay, item E, superintendent's business on both the addendum and the main agenda. I need a motion to accept this.
I'll move.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to point out real quick on number 2A, the policy 266, non-discrimination of the basis of sex in district programs or activities. I just want to give a shout out real quick. I can't breathe with this thing on, so I'm going to take it down for a second. Director of Federal Programs, Lisa Gonzalez, did a ton of work. Jane was with me. The policy committee met last week to go over thoroughly this policy, which was
Very thorough.
20-some pages long, yeah. And Lisa Gonzalez was in charge of it, met with Andrew Burton, our attorney, to go over the details of the policy. They explained it. Jane and I were in a meeting for over an hour with this, and she did great work. She spent a ton of time on her vacation to make sure that we had great language in this policy. So I just want, fellow board members to be comfortable and feel confident. She did a fantastic job.
Mr. Peterson, do you want to address items 3 and 4 and share with us any other information?
Sure. Item number 3, believe that's the remote learning plan, correct? Okay. That's a ODE mandated item that we need to have board approved. It's a general plan that indicates our intent to provide remote learning throughout this school year on an as-needed basis. And we'll get into that a little bit more detail when we talk about our reopening plan. But if that is board approved this evening, then we will send that to be on file down in Columbus. Regarding, I just want to address our MECLC, the child care reopening plan. They're under a little bit different licensing rules than the rest of the district, but generally their plan is very similar to the district plan, but there are some differences. We did get some very good news Monday from Columbus that they are able to go back to their normal ratios, which were cut in half in the spring. So they will be able to have the normal amount of children in their programs that they used to have until the pandemic hit.
And this is the Jesse Beer program that's moving to Lincoln Heights, correct?
Right. We will open that building up a week from Monday. The building is pretty well done and prepared and ready to go. A lot of the moving will take place next week, moving furniture and other things over from Jesse Beer, and so a week from Monday they will reopen. Regarding our reopening plan for the district, I'll just kind of walk through that page by page. The first page is just a letter from myself to our students and families, being excited. And I do want you to know and want the community to know that the plan is fluid. At any time, we could get a mandate from the governor. I'm hearing that we may get some additional guidelines either this evening or tomorrow that we may have to adjust our plan. So it is fluid based on mandates and other things that we may get from the governor. But we are excited at this time to be going back face-to-face. Our students will have two options. They can come back in the face-to-face mode where we have made a lot of adjustments in our procedures and plans to do that safely and responsibly. If you flip over to the next page, there's a list of promises that we make as a district to the community, and I'll just kind of walk through those quickly. While we may not be able to socially distance by 6 feet in all spaces, we will socially distance to the extent possible. We intend to provide both our staff and our students with professional development and preparation of the different policies and changes in procedures so that we're ready to go and to follow these procedures from day one. We'll have hand sanitizing stations in the classrooms and in a lot of common areas and offices. Students will have their temperatures taken as they enter the building each school day. Students and staff will wear face coverings to maximize protection, and I'll talk a little bit more about face coverings here in a minute. And then our staff is encouraged to maintain distancing as much as possible while they are working. And like I said, we have made many temporary changes of our daily procedures to mitigate the risk of COVID. I want to make it very clear that all risk cannot be eliminated. However, I think the procedures that we have in place will mitigate that risk extensively. And then very important that our parents and families keep their children home if they are feeling ill, if they test positive for COVID, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as well. And one thing that I will make clear as we're talking about this, The contact tracing, if we would have a positive case of a student or staff member, all contact tracing will be done through the Richland County Health Department. They have the staffing to do that, and they will take care of that. We do not have the staffing to do the contact tracing. They made it very clear to us we should not do that, that we should leave that to them. We will be in close communication with the health department as we have issues. We will expect our students to socially distance, follow the face covering protocols, keeping their hands washed or sanitized and maintaining the hygiene that way, and then that they be respectful of our staff when they are addressing them regarding the procedures and protocols. Flip over to the next page. You can see the two options that are available. One is in person, in buildings daily, with the safety protocols in place. And that option, if we were to close, then we would go to remote learning for those students who are doing the face-to-face. That would be similar to what we experienced last spring. We have had and will have much more time to prepare for that now, and we'll do a much better job. And I want to commend our staff last year when we were thrown into that. I thought they did a great job of providing the remote learning at that time. And however, we are much better prepared to do that if we were to experience a closure this school year. Option two, I want to really clarify this. This is the Madison Online Academy. Students will work independently at home daily. They will be using an online third-party curriculum that will have the core courses, math, English, science, and social studies, as well as some specials or elective courses, but it will not have, and I want to be very clear about this, it will not have all of the same opportunities that our students would have in the option one in our regular face-to-face learning environment. And if parents were to choose this option, that would be at a minimum a semester-long commitment. At the end of the first semester, if they wanted to continue in the online academy, they would have the option of doing that. But if they enroll in it at the beginning of the year, they will be in that at least through the end of the first semester.
Mr. Peterson, what's the curriculum that they're using? Is it Edmentum? Is that what?
We're going to use two curriculums for the younger age groups. It will be Nova, and for the older groups, it will be Edmentum.
Okay.
And we're going to, until we know how many students at each grade level that we're looking at, we're going to maintain some flexibility on which grade levels will use which curriculum and which staff member they'll be assigned to.
Now, if we go to a level 4, will those students stay in Edmentum, or will they go to remote learning with the other students?
So as you can see in level 4 purple, everybody will be experiencing remote learning, and those students who are in the online academy will continue the online academy from that point.
Thank you.
So if you look down at the levels, level 1 and level 2, we'll follow this reopening plan as it states. If we get to level 3, we will follow our reopening plan, but all students, kindergarten through 12, will be required to wear a facial covering at all times. And we'll get into face coverings here in a minute. I want to give a shout out to everybody who contributed to this plan. It was a group effort. We received feedback from students, from parents, from teachers, from non-teaching staff, from administration, and worked very well together to come up with this plan. We are still working on some documents for the online academy that'll have more specific information for that. And we are still working on our expectations for both students and staff if we go into a closure mode. So we're still working on those items. We also worked with other Richland County districts, and that was very helpful. And the Richland County Health Department has also been very helpful in helping us put this together. So it was definitely a group effort, and I appreciate all of the work that everybody did to put this together. Board members as well. Next page, you'll see
Mr.
our...
Peterson, before you go on,
Yes.
define what you mean by a facial covering under, at all times, level 3. Are you talking about a mask, or could it be a clear face shield, or what?
For students, it is a mask unless they have some kind of health consideration or some developmental issue, which they will bring to their building principal for an adjustment at that point. Adjustments could be a variety of things, including a face shield or no face covering. All right, moving on to the updated calendar and start dates. First day of school for grades 1 through 10 will be August 26th. We always delay the juniors and seniors each year, and we're going to continue to do that this year. So the juniors and seniors will come the following day. September 8th will be the first day of school for both kindergarten and preschool. And this plan, if board approved tonight, will be uploaded to our district website tomorrow morning for everybody to see. Next page is the facial covering guidelines. If we are in levels 1 and 2, and any student who rides a Madison School District bus, because we can't socially distance on the bus, students will be sitting right next to each other. Every student will be required to wear a mask at all times when on the bus. They will also be required to wear masks as they arrive or are dismissed, or between class changes or other transition times in the hallways. During class time, students in grades 3 through 12 will be required to wear a mask at all times, but I will let you know that we will be building mask breaks strategically into the daily schedules. I know it gets hot in our buildings, in some of our buildings, and so those mask breaks are going to be important for the students. Students pre-K through 2 are not required to wear a face covering while they're at their desk in the classroom, although they are welcome and encouraged to do so. But if they are in close contact with other students or with their teacher, they will be required to wear a mask. And you see there the medical issues. If your child has a documented medical issue that prohibits them from being able to comply with the face covering expectations, please contact your building principal. Parents are responsible for providing their child with a mask. However, if they request one, we will provide them with masks as needed. We will also have them disposable masks on the bus. We need children to have their masks on as they get on the bus, but if they forget them, they're an issue of any, we're not going to leave a child at a bus stop. They're going to get on the bus, we will provide them with a disposable mask. All staff will be required to wear a mask while at work unless they are isolated working alone. If a mask is not medically appropriate for a staff member or makes performing their contracted work impossible, a face shield may be substituted. And examples of this could be staff in primary grades who are trying to teach reading and phonics. The children need to see their face and their mouse as they do that. Speech pathologists and foreign language instructors. And there may be others where that adjustment is necessary as well. And just to address face coverings in general, that was a very difficult decision to come to. I haggled over that and battled that out for many days, for weeks. And where I landed basically was to listen to the experts, and the Ohio Department of Health and their guidelines to the schools strongly recommended masks for students grades 3 through 12. So I went with the expert advice there. Not going to go through the rest of these. It talks about some more specifics with classrooms and hallways and drop-off and pickup and those things. One thing that I will call attention to, and again, we are counting on parents to take their child's temperature before they leave for school in the morning. And if you have a temperature of 100 degrees or higher, please keep your child at home. If they come to school and we have to send them home because of a temperature, they will have to be kept at home and can't return to school for a minimum of 10 days unless they have a note from a doctor excusing them or excusing their return to school. We just, in order to be safe and responsible, we're going to need help from parents to make sure those temperatures are taken. We will take them as well, but the first line of defense is keeping them at home. And in addition to those 10 days, the last 48 hours of those 10 days, they have to be fever-free without any medication. So it's just really important to monitor those temperatures, and that came from the Richland County Health Department. That is not our requirement. We are required to do that from the Richland County Health Department. So
with those situations where a student does come to school, they end up with a fever at some point throughout the day, or in any other situation where they are needing to self-quarantine for 10 to 14 days as required, are the attendance policies going to be updated or laxed, or how will that work as far as truancy and issues with attendance? Obviously, I mean, you're going through close to the allowed number of days at one time if you're put in a situation where you have to quarantine.
yeah, quarantine will be taken into consideration regarding our truancy policies, and that's not going to count against students.
Thank you.
They have no choice
Okay,
but
thank you.
to not come to school.
they
And will
won't-
they be able to get work at home?
They will.
Or somebody can stop in and pick work up for them?
Yes, just
Okay.
like we normally would do.
Okay, thank you.
How are we going to handle a staff member or a student if they are identified after school starts?
Identified as having a positive COVID
Yes.
test. So we would need the student or the staff member to make us aware of that. And if we are aware, and we will ask them to contact the Richland County Health Department. Richland County Health Department, again, as I said before, will do all of the contact tracing. They will communicate closely with us and let us know, hey, you have a student who had close contact with another student, and now they are being tested, or and so they will do the contact tracing, and they will communicate closely with us so that we know which students should not be in school. But really, most importantly, we need parents to communicate with us if there is a positive situation, and to contact the health department as well. And in talking to the health department commissioner, I know they have had some issues where parents would not share information if they were going through contact tracing. And it's really important that everybody communicate so that we mitigate the risk for both students and staff.
And I'm assuming the rest of the class will be notified that,
Yes. Depending on the building, like high school and middle school are a little bit different. If we have a positive test at either the middle school or the high school because students are changing classes, we would probably contact every family that has a child in that building. At the elementary level, where students are generally together with a single cohort of students, we would only contact that single classroom where the student or staff member was. And we will not release any information as to which student or staff member. We would just say a student or staff member in this classroom tested positive.
And how will that contact be made? Will that be made through a letter, a phone call, Remind 101, or how do you intend to do that?
I don't know that I was thinking letter, but that we have not finalized that procedure.
Okay.
any further discussion on this or any questions for Mr. Peterson?
How fast can you take those temperatures and it readjust itself? Just take another one?
You can probably take, it probably takes, you could probably do one every 3 seconds or so. What our intention is, as buses arrive, we are not going to just unload all the buses at once. We will unload the buses one at a time to allow for as much distancing as possible.
Bing, 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 bing.
And we'll have multiple people taking temperatures.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to take some time.
Yeah, I think we ordered the scanner thermometers. I think we got like 10 for our larger buildings and 5 for the smaller buildings.
That should cover it.
Yeah. And we'll have multiple entrances.
I'd just like to say to the staff, being a former teacher and principal, I understand your concerns. It's not an ideal situation to start a school year, so I hope that you can feel safe enough to come back and feel safe enough to work with the kids because they miss you.
If I could just address the option 2, the online academy, just a little bit more. I can't say enough, and I want to be very clear about this because I don't want there to be any misperceptions. That is a rigorous curriculum. I think there might be a little bit of a misconception out there that, I'll just stay at home and do the online academy and not have to do much and just sit around. And if you have that mentality, that's not what's going to happen. Attendance is going to be taken based on progress. It will be, we're developing the contract for the online academy now. It's going to be a rigorous situation. So anybody that thinks they're going to do that and just sit at home and relax and not have to do much work, that's a misperception, and that's not at all the way it's going to be.
Also, you're going to notify parents with a letter for enrolling?
Yeah, a letter will go out tomorrow to all parents, and the only action a parent would need to take based on that letter, there's 2 pieces to it. One, if their child is coming back face-to-face, they don't need to do anything. If they're coming back to the online academy and they want to enroll their child in that, they will need to go to our website and complete an enrollment document, either online or they can come to the board office to do that, paper and pencil. And then the second piece to it, we want to get some transportation numbers. So if a parent is not using transportation for their child, again, there's no action needed. But if they are going to transport their child by bus, there's again an online form that needs filled out, and that form will also be available at the board office in hard copy if they don't have online access or just want to do it that way.
And they will be limited to just one stop, pick up and drop off, right? They can't do multiple?
Yes. As far as transportation goes, if you're using school bus transportation, because of contact tracing and other issues, they will be limited to one pickup spot and one drop-off spot, and will have to ride the same bus all the time. We aren't able to offer the service of multiple pickup and drop-off points like we have in the past.
And if they're going to utilize the online option, when would that decision or enrollment information need to be completed by?
We've set a deadline for next Friday, August 7th, I believe. I don't know if that sounds right.
So with that information, do we know when we might anticipate schedules or teachers' information being released to families or being available to pick up?
Schedules meaning,
Just if they're coming back face-to-face and have to pick up their high school schedule or need to know who their teacher is or
those normal,
the online schedule.
yeah, those normal procedures are already taking place, and those letters will go out from each building regarding schedule pickup, and that's happening as normal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. There's no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Ms. Amy Walker,
4.
Mrs. McGinney,
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker,
4.
Mr. Mosier,
Or
Mr. Wigton.
4. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. At this time, we will adjourn, and I need a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second,
Second?
discussion?
I apologize. Who motioned? Jane and then Melissa.
Jane and then
Okay.
Melissa.
Sorry. Mrs.
Roll call,
McGinney,
please. Yeah.
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker,
4.
Mr. Mosier,
or
Ms. Amy Walker,
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4. Okay, thank you for coming, and thank everybody for being here.